Good evening everyone, and welcome to Virginia International Raceway, where we are going head to head for round 2 of Series 2 of the SimRacingOnline GT1 Championship. There we go, I do finally have a leaderboard at last, so I can show you that currently pole position is Davide Ricciardi in his Lamborghini Murcielago. However, we still have 9.5 minutes left in the qualifying session, so anything can happen in that time as Ricciardi there starts another flying lap. Second place currently is Henri Miettinen there, also in a Lamborghini, so the Lamborghini is going very, very well here, just as they did last time out. And third place, the first non-Lamborghini, is the red Ferrari of John van der Geest. So van der Geest there challenging the Ferraris, but a little way back in terms of lap times at the minute. In fact, the two Lamborghinis at the head of the field are miles ahead, judging by the order there, with none of the other cars even coming within a second of them there. So anyway, Ricciardi looking, definitely like the top competitor. However, Pablo Finotti gets within a second of him there, so Finotti in the Celine jumps up into third position. Nicely done from him. Let's watch Tony Talviti, who's just started another flying lap. He is in the Celine as well, and is currently second in the championship. So Talviti will be hoping for a decent bag of points today. Of course, currently leading the championship as well as this qualifying session is Davide Ricciardi, followed by Tony Talviti in the championship, then Roberto Bali, who I'm afraid has not set a lap yet, so hopefully Bali can make it in. I'm not sure if he's on the server or not, but whatever the case, we're expecting him to turn up, and if he doesn't, that would be a shame. Fourth place in the championship is Johnny Gutierrez. He's currently 6th in this qualifying session. Then also in the standings it is Masset, that's Yusuf Masset, Kai Sivertsen, John van der Geest, Xavier Eugeni, Steve Isaacs and Giacomo Vallini. Those are the top 10 after the first round of the championship, which took place 2 weeks ago at the Mosport circuit, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park as it's known these days. But whatever the case, this round 2 will be taking place at the fast-flowing Virginia International Circuit, International Raceway, sorry. And of course we'll have 5 rounds left in the championship after this, which will take place at Oschersleben, the first round outside of Germany, outside of the US. That will be next time out. And then also we're going to Donington, Spa-Francorchamps, Suzuka, and then back to the US for the final round of the championship, which will be Laguna Seca for the finale. So just 7 minutes remaining in this qualifying session now. Talviti just finished that lap, and I'm afraid it was no improvement for him. So we'll watch now Johnny Gutierrez, the leading Lister. I love the sound of that Lister as it fires its way over the hill. It's got a lot of snap, crackle and pop in those cylinders that it has. A whole V12 cylinders, I believe. Let me just double check that. I don't want to embarrass myself by saying that wrong. Indeed, yeah, it does have a V12 engine, much like the Lamborghinis do, and much like the Ferraris do as well. And we also have the Dodge Viper, or the Chrysler Viper as it is, with a V10 engine, and there's another car with a V8, and that will be the Celine. So, whoa, as Johnny Gutierrez gets very sideways, and he's heading for the grass, the Armco wall. Oh, misses the Armco barrier, but anyway, it goes for a big spin, so that's going to be the end of that opportunity there. So let's watch Ricciardi. He's actually just about to start a flying lap. You can see his timer there is going almost to 4 minutes, showing that he's on an out lap. However, he's just about to cross the start-finish line, so this is a perfect example. In fact, let's go on board. Let's go on board with Ricciardi as we watch a lap of this Virginia International Raceway circuit. So, turns 1 and 2 are fast right-handers, and then we head into a couple of left-hand kinks to turns 3 and 4. Turn 3 is known as NASCAR bend, turn 4 is the left hook. Then we go right through 5 and 5A before heading out through the Snake, also known as 6 and 6A. A real accident black spot on the first lap when cars try to go side by side through there and suddenly find themselves running out of road. Anyway, up the hill we head through another set of snake bends, 7, 8, 9 and then 10 here. That's South Bend. Very easy to dip wheels into the grass on the outside, and that can really unsettle you. For the Oak Tree corner, and Ricciardi's on the grass, so that's going to probably ruin his lap there through Oak Tree. I saw someone doing that in another race that I was commentating at this track the other day, and they ended up crashing out with a 10-second lead, which must have been utterly gutting. Anyway, this long straight here is called Madison Avenue. It's the longest straight on the circuit and a fantastic slipstreaming opportunity before we head into some of the most difficult and treacherous corners on the track, the roller coaster. Now down through 15 and 16, two left-handers, and then 17 and 17A are known as the hog pen, and they fire you downhill towards the end of the lap, and Ricciardi's got out of shape again. I don't think this is going to be a good lap for Ricciardi, so he's just got to set up for the next lap and see if he can do better the second time around. Indeed, he was about 2.5 seconds down on his lap there due to all of the mistakes, so not the greatest representation of the track we just watched, but Ricciardi's best lap so far was enough to put him P2, which would be a very, very decent starting position if he was to hold it. Let's have another look at Tony Salviti. He's just started another lap, locks up slightly going into to turn 1. That's going to cost him a little bit of time, but probably only by a matter of tenths of a second and not by much at all. Of course, so far in this championship, we've only had one round. It was last time at Mosport, and it was won by Davide Ricciardi by 22 seconds almost in the end, after, as Talviti pulls off the road, after Talviti had to make a pit stop in the late stages to have a splash and dash of fuel. Obviously knew that he wasn't going to make it to the end of the race on that fuel load. However, Talviti did prove to be the fastest driver over a lap, taking pole position. However, fastest lap of the race went to Pablo Finotti, who had issues in the early stages of the race with a disconnection, I believe, which put him down to 11th position in the finishing order. So if Finotti wants to get his championship challenge back on, he's going to have a good round this time out, and 5th place will be slightly disappointing, although still a relatively good starting position. Of course, Talviti did take 2nd place last time out in the Saleen, and he was followed to 3rd by Roberto Bali. Still haven't seen Bali setting a lap, which is a little bit worrying and a bit of a shame. I'm going to have a look on the forum quickly to see if he's posted anything about not being able to make today's race. Yusuf Masset there improves to 6th position and then exits to the pits. So a slight improvement from Masset. I don't think he's going to get another chance after this one. Anyway, just looking back on the forums, see if I can spot who's going to be missing today, as John van der Geest completes another lap, and that one looks to be, it's quick, it's an improvement on his time. Although still he stays in 4th position. He's going to abandon the lap now, and it looks to me as if he's not going to get another opportunity to go any quicker. So anyway, let's have a look at Pablo Finotti, another one of the Saleen drivers, one of the fastest drivers last time out, and potentially going to be one of the drivers contesting for the win today. So along Madison Avenue through the 2nd sector. He's a long way down on his time, I'm afraid, so this is not going to be an improvement for Finotti. Oh, and locks up again, so I'm afraid that's not going to be an improvement for Finotti, although I think he's going to get another chance. Talking of another chance, what's Davide Ricciardi going to do with this one? Well, this particular lap's down on his time, half a second down to be precise, and I think he's bailing out. Yes, he is. So Ricciardi will not be going any faster. Mietinen's in the pits, as are Talviti and van der Geest. So not many drivers going for quicker laps. What can Finotti do? I think he's going to be the top driver who still has the potential to go faster. Locks up though into turn 1. Locks up badly, goes wide, although we'll probably try to convert that into a good exit speed. Giacomo Vellini jumps up into 8th place there. Demotes Rob Milliken and Steve Isaacs. And that's not looking that quick for Finotti, but we'll see if he can salvage anything from this time. Vellini, I think, crossed the start-finish line before the, after the checkered flag, so he won't be going any faster, and indeed, he now heads to the pit lane, so it's only Finotti who is still on a flying lap here. Not sure that he can jump up to pole position, but he can certainly challenge for 4th position if this lap is a clean and fast one. Just heading up through the oak tree corners. It's important to get a good exit here onto Madison Avenue, past the Coca-Cola boards, which are where the old oak tree used to be, which gives that corner its name. They removed that for safety reasons, understandably. That's down. That's a bad second sector as well, so Finotti will not be going any faster, and that looks like it's going to be our grid. So Henri Miettinen takes pole position, followed by Davide Ricciardi, Tony Talviti, John van der Geest, Pablo Finotti, Yusuf Masset, and then Johnny Gutierrez, Giacomo Vellini, then Rob Milliken, Steve Isaacs. Let's just watch Finotti finishing his lap. Yeah, indeed, that's a long way down, so that is no improvement from him. Ricciardi is also still on track, although he backed out at the start of this lap, so I'm not sure quite why he's still going. And then, of course, after Steve Isaacs, we had Steve Olden, so 2 Steves there, bringing up the tail of the field. But also, I believe, Phil Brown set an out lap, but didn't actually set a fast lap, so whether he starts or not is yet to be seen. Whatever the case, we've got a little bit of cooldown time before we head onto the start grid and start getting properly prepared for the start of this race. Just a few seconds or minutes to go now. Thank you all for tuning in, whether you're tuning in live or you're watching this afterwards. And I will be checking the YouTube chat throughout the course of the day, so if you want to leave a comment, you've got an interesting point to make, or you just want to say hi, that would be very much appreciated. And now we have just 2 minutes to wait, so let's take another look at the starting grid. It's going to be Henri Miettinen starting from pole position in the green Lamborghini, followed by, I can't do it that way, can I? That's annoying. Oh no, I've lost my order. Sorry, can't take you through the order because I've completely messed everything up, but I did read it out at the end of qualifying anyway. But what you really have to remember is that it's going to be Miettinen and Ricciardi on the front row of the grid, so they're going to be going at it into turn 1, jostling for position. And then the rest of the field will be following them through, squabbling and doing their absolute best to make up positions at the start. It is quite important to make positions in the series. As we've seen, it's quite difficult to follow in GT1 cars, and Virginia isn't the easiest track to overtake at. So you do have to keep your wits about you, and you do have to plan your move and your race. But you also have to keep your head in the first few corners. The main overtaking opportunity, I expect, will be up into the roller coaster at the end of Madison Avenue. You do also have an opportunity down into turn 1, but only if you're careful and only if you've got a really, really good run. It's difficult because the final corner is so fast, and because you get such a slingshot effect off it. Anyway, we're getting ready to start the race now. We're going to see 6 red lights come up on our screen. They're going to come on one after the other, and when they're extinguished, we will be underway here at Virginia International Raceway. 3, 4, 5, 6, and... we are away with 1.5 hours of racing here with SimRacingOnline. I will show you the front of the field when I can. Is it going to be Miettinen or is it going to be Ricciardi who leads down into turn 1? And it's Miettinen who leads out of the first couple of corners. So Henri Miettinen leads us away, followed by Ricciardi, Finotti, Talviti and Van de Geest. They're scrapping behind. There's Vellini going side by side with Masset. Masset gets the run and goes through to 6th position on the inside. Everyone's made it through relatively cleanly, although I think Steve Isaacs had a little spin there at the back. He's lost a lot of time. Meanwhile, near the front, let's keep an eye on these Lamborghinis, Salines, Vipers, Ferraris, leading us through and heading up through the snakes for the first time. It's going to be pretty much impossible to pull a move up through here. You've got to set yourself up for Madison Avenue, the long downhill then uphill straight past the alternative pit lane. Here we go. This is where the slipstreaming is really going to start taking effect. I don't think Ricciardi is going to be close enough to challenge Miettinen, although behind Finotti and Talviti are close in the Salines. They're really bunched together, and they've got Van de Geest and Masset right behind them in the Ferrari and the Viper respectively, as they scrap and squabble up towards the roller coaster. You can see exactly why this group of corners is called the roller coaster, because it goes up, then down, then round, and you really don't know where you're going unless you know this track well. Olden and Gutierrez fighting near the back. Gutierrez getting the better of his rival. Oh, and Yusuf Masset's gone off, so Yusuf Masset's had a little spin there. Stopped on the road, and now he's got going in 9th position. Didn't see how that was caused. I'm afraid we don't have replays. But whatever the case, he's going to lose a lot of time, and he's going to lose another place to Johnny Gutierrez here. Gutierrez going through on the inside, and that's 9th position to Johnny Gutierrez. Done and dusted, nicely sorted. And now near the front of the field, Finotti already losing out to Ricciardi and Miettinen there already has a 1.5 second lead, so Miettinen getting away at the start, stretching his legs, and he is just off like a rocket. Off like my dog when you open his crate in the morning. Oh, and another change further back. Gutierrez has just got past Rob Milliken, so another change, and that's for 8th position, and now Milliken's coming under heavy attack from Yusuf Masset. We've seen in the past that Milliken isn't the most confrontational of drivers. He doesn't like to go for overly aggressive defensive manoeuvres to hold his position, so Masset has just got to bide his time and go through when he sees a gap. Oh, but he's run slightly wide, almost onto the grass there, has Masset. He's got Steve Olden right behind him as well, hoping to get up into the top 10. Olden, of course, did not drive in the first round of the championship, so he's quite a long way back in terms of points. As Milliken, goes off. I said he wasn't. Oh my word! And rejoins almost into the path of Masset there. That was very clumsy, very close. I said he wasn't going to try anything drastic in defense, but he made a mistake, seemingly in anticipation of a move from Masset there. So maybe I was wrong about him. But anyway, ran through the grass, and actually Steve Olden did drive in the last race 2 weeks ago, although he simply drove as Steve O, so didn't run with his full surname. And he finished 12th last time out, so so long as he finishes this race, or rather wherever he finishes this race, he will have improved or matched his previous score. Meanwhile, Phil Brown's made a good start. He's already up into 7th, having started from the very back of the grid after not setting a qualifying time. Let's have a look at John Van de Geest, who's on the back of Tony Talviti, who in turn is right on the back of Finotti as well. Talviti not getting the best of exits out of Oak Tree. The driver's second in the championship. Looks like he's set to lose quite a few points to Davide Ricciardi here. Of course, Henri Miettinen qualified 4th last time out at Mosport, but unfortunately retired from the race in the early stages. Just seemed to, well, rather halfway through the race, he was challenging the leaders for the first 45 minutes and then just randomly disappeared. Oh, we've had a change further back. And that's Yusuf Massett finally getting past Millikan in the same place that Millikan made a mistake last lap. So Millikan, not the biggest fan of the roller coaster, and dropping behind Yusuf Massett for the time being. So up towards NASCAR Bend. It's a corner that's very slippery when wet, although completely dry here today, as always with the Assetto Corsa simulator. It's still a corner that demands respect, as does this entire track. It's got quite a flow, although that does mean that if you get out of the rhythm, you start to lose all sorts of time. You start to run wide in corners where you really shouldn't be running wide, and you can find yourself out on the grass very, very easily. The last race that I commentated actually was another GT race at this circuit at Virginia, and as I said earlier in the broadcast, a driver lost control through the corner before Oak Tree, and then went off at Oak Tree because he'd got out of the rhythm and went straight into the barrier. And the worst thing was, he was leading the race by 10 seconds. Now look at Talviti going alongside Pablo Finotti, challenging him up into the bus stop there, up into roller coaster, sorry. Having to back out of it now. You really need to get much further alongside your opponent than that if you're going to pull a move. Fastest lap of the race there for Henri Miettinen, getting away from the pack as they squabble behind him. 3 seconds is the gap for the lead now. So that's a huge, huge advantage for this early on in the race. And Talviti really needs to do what he did to Finotti last lap, but find himself on the other side, because if you get to the right hand side of your opponent into the roller coaster and you can get it slowed enough, it's very, very difficult for your opponent to find a way to turn in without hampering himself or both of you, although drivers don't tend to like to do that. So it tends to be that you'll gain the place so long as you can keep it within the lines. Rob Millikan's just... Oh, and that's a collision! And Millikan and Olden are both off. So Olden's facing backwards and Millikan's dropped to 11th and all of that as well. Steve Isaacs jumps them both. And I didn't see how that happened. Let's ride on board with them and see if there's damage. Surely there's damage to Rob Millikan. No damage. He just got slightly out of the rhythm and went off a bit. And Olden appears to have recovered with pretty much no damage as well. They appear to have been lucky in all of that. Although I'm sure there's going to be at least one disgruntled driver in all of that. Talviti now tries again, and this time gets all the way alongside Finotti. Oh, and they touch! And they touch! And Talviti holds it. Does Finotti? He's going to lose a place to Van der Geest. They touch again. Van der Geest goes through into 4th position. And Finotti thought he was going to lose 1 position, and he's lost 2. So he is not going to be happy about that one. I'm just going to look at the YouTube stream to see how that happened. So Talviti did get all the way alongside and past Talviti. Oh, and then it looks to me as if they just came together side to side in the corner. Looks like a plain racing incident, if you ask me. Meanwhile, Steve Olden's made another mistake, so maybe there is damage on that car. Maybe it's not handling like it was before, because he is pointing backwards again. Well, now he's recovered to the road, but he was pointing backwards. Oh, as Gutierrez goes off. Gutierrez was challenging Brown, runs wide, and Yusuf Massett gets him. So Massett up the inside in the Corvette, which is what Gutierrez was racing last season. Looked to me as if Gutierrez just got slightly too close to the back of Brown's car and misjudged the corner and all of that. ran wide, and that's how he lost a position. You could see it coming, and now Masset's under attack from Gutierrez, who wants to make a position back. Feels that that position is rightfully his. Has a good claim to it, although if you make a mistake, then I'm afraid you don't deserve that position unless you can work your way back through, if that makes sense. Up the hill towards the S's, towards the roller coaster. Masset trying to make the move that Talviti made last lap. Ooh, contact, and Masset's going off into the grass and loses the place to Gutierrez again. That was a weird one. It looked like Brown braked more than Masset was expecting, but as the driver following, you have to be aware of that. You have to give room. You have to provide for all of those situations, all of those scenarios, and as a result, I'm afraid Masset can't really blame anyone but himself for that. Oh, as Gutierrez now passes Brown. So Brown, who made a good start to this race, and gets back underneath Gutierrez and back through into 7th. He made a good start to this race, although he seems to be dropping back a bit now, and Gutierrez manages to hold on and get back through on the inside. That was very brave from Gutierrez there, I have to say. Holding it on around the outside of turn 2 and just sticking it in on the inside of NASCAR Bend, where Brown couldn't do anything about it. Good move from Gutierrez there. So what can Brown do about getting back at Gutierrez? He got past him earlier in the race, I believe on the first lap of the race maybe. Although it seemed that Gutierrez didn't have the best of times on the first lap. Going a little bit shallow into Oak Tree there. I don't think that's going to set him up very well. Certainly not my ideal line, I'd say. And he may come under attack from Yusuf Masset and all of that as well. So, up towards the roller coaster, the three of them separated by about 7/10 of a second. This is the corner where people do tend to make mistakes. Gutierrez locked up slightly, and Brown's dropping back. Masset got a really good run through those corners there. Much better than last lap, put it that way. And now he gets alongside Brown on the exit of the hog pen. And that is done and dusted. Brown appears to be coming back at him into turn 1 though. Shows him his nose. Although Masset was not going to give that one up. He was fully ahead. And Brown would have had to go for a serious dive if he was going to make it through there. So stays behind, although still we have this, it's a 4-car chain now because they've caught up to the back of Giacomo Vellini. And Vellini had a really good start in all of that as well, I should point out. But yeah, they've caught right up to the back of him now and appear to be challenging him for 6th. So it's 4 for 6th at this point in time. Vellini, Gutierrez, Masset and Brown. Of course, I think it's going to be easier for the order to change in a few minutes time when we're going to have the pit window. Of course, there's no mandatory pit stop in these races. However, you simply cannot make the fuel last for that long. The drivers will all have to make a stop. And Yusuf Masset now, challenging to the inside of Gutierrez and having to back out of it. But Masset does always look very, very fast into the roller coaster, sometimes faster than his rivals are expecting, and that was close between Gutierrez and Vellini, who made side-by-side contact and are not going to get a good run out of the hog pen. Here comes Masset. He's probably going about 5 miles per hour faster than Gutierrez at this point in time. Going to the outside line, and his best hope here is to get a switchback on the exit. Basically, he needs to slot in behind Gutierrez in order to get the better run. and then challenge on the exit of NASCAR. Bend, and Vellini's going off. Good save from Vellini, really good save. He lost it under braking and just was able to hold it, didn't overreact, because if he'd swung the wheel around like some more panicky drivers would have done, he would have snapped and lost control of the car there. Kept the steering wheel straight, relatively kept it on the road, and Gutierrez almost going over the grass there, trying to get past him. Knows he's losing time in all of this. Up the hill, over the grass, here comes Massett. And that's a mistake for Gutierrez. Massett on the outside. Although that's going to hold them both up, because now Massett's not going to be able to get to the apex. Oh, and Gutierrez gets sideways on the exit. That's going to give Massett an easy move. There we go. Easy peasy, Viper squeezy. Up towards the roller coaster again, down through the roller coaster, over the crest of the hill. And these four cannot stop swapping positions. This looks like it could go right up to the pit window, and maybe even longer than that as well. I'm expecting the pit window to come into play in about 13 minutes. Massett side by side with Vellini. And he's got that, hasn't he? Yeah. Uses the superior grunt of the V10 Viper, and the Lamborghini darts back through to the inside. It's a bit of a dive. He's going to go wide on the exit. Oh, good move from Vellini. Keeps it on the inside. Massett might run wide here. Massett does run wide. He's on the grass. Gutierrez takes a look up the inside as well. He's going to try to follow Vellini through. Contact. Massett spins off. Massett's in the grass. And that was always going to end in tears there. And I'm afraid, I think, and keep in mind that I've only seen this once, I think that was Massett just not knowing when to back off there. He'd made the mistake on the grass. He was rejoining the road. Gutierrez was alongside him. He knew he was there. And Massett, I'm afraid, just missed. Oh, goodness. Yeah, sorry. That was just me reacting to seeing it again on replay. I should say, though, I've only been able to see it from one angle, but whatever the case, that's put Steve Isaacs right onto the back of Yusuf Massett now. And Gutierrez right onto the back of Vellini, because he's been released from Massett. So, what can Gutierrez do about Vellini? Faster entry into the roller coaster, but I believe Vellini got it turned in nicer. Down the hill, out towards the start-finish straight, which isn't really that straight. It curves from here all the way through pretty much to turn 1. And he goes to the inside, just like Vellini did last lap on Massett. Runs wide but gets it hooked up and makes the move stick. Good move. He's done a Vellini on Vellini. And with less lockup as well, I'd say that's one of the moves of the race so far from Gutierrez, if not the move of the race. Oh, and there's been... Oh, and Talviti's out! Talviti's out! He's in the pits! Well, I saw there was a change of order, and I switched to Talviti's car, and he was miles off in the grass. And he's out of the race completely! Oh no! Second in the championship, Tony Talviti becomes our first retirement after presumably crashing out, but we didn't see what happened to him. And that puts John van der Geest up into 3rd position. And Pablo Finotti up into 4th. Gutierrez will claim 5th. And that means that this battle between Gutierrez, Vellini and Brown will become the battle for 5th position. And that's so gutting for Giacomo Vellini. Really not sure what happened there. I don't think he made contact with Van der Geest, because he was quite a way ahead of him before going off, so presumably just lost control all on his own. Although of course this is only speculation, because we did not see exactly what happened. Goodness me. Well, that's going to play into the hands of Davide Ricciardi, who came into this round as the championship leader, and Talviti was his main championship rival. But now, of course, Talviti will be losing a lot of points. And Bali, of course, was third in the championship coming into this round, and he's going to be losing a lot of points because he didn't start the race. So that's two major contenders out of the way for Ricciardi. And fourth in the championship at the minute is Johnny Gutierrez, who's currently running in 5th place in the race. So could this become a battle for the championship between Ricciardi and Gutierrez? I'm afraid after this round, Ricciardi will have a huge championship lead comparatively for this early on in the season. And Henri Miettinen, of course, who looks as if he may win this race. He didn't finish last time out as well, so he's lost a lot of points in that. Masset going to the outside of Brown. They are fighting for 7th, just behind Giacomo Vellini. This is the fight for 6th position. Vellini dropping a long way back from Gutierrez already. Gutierrez was obviously being held up by the fight war as Masset gets over the grass, trying to go past Phil Brown, and makes it stick. So Masset gets it done. Down through the roller coaster again. What can Masset do about Vellini? We've seen him pass him once already in the race. Oh, contact! Brown's made a mistake. Brown has slid straight into Masset's car, and they've both gone off. Brown is facing backwards. Masset will rejoin the road. And I'm afraid that was just Brown getting it all wrong under braking. And slamming into Masset, and Masset, I'm sure, will be very annoyed at that. They weren't anywhere near each other on the road. And Phil Brown, oh my goodness. Yeah, that is not good. Tony Talviti says his retirement was caused by a big spin because he was racing with a massive hangover. Oh no. Not the best of ideas there, but I'm really sorry to see that you have retired from this race. And hopefully you will have a better round next time out. Let's, well, now the race has calmed down, and I say that in inverted commas, let's watch this track from on board Henri Miettinen, showing us how it's done. He's the race leader so far. He's got the fastest lap of the race, if I remember. Well, unless I haven't seen anyone else go faster, and they have done. Of course, Miettinen, one of the best drivers in SimRacingOnline. He's raced with us in plenty of championships. He's won plenty of races as well. Actually won the Ginetta Super Cup earlier this year. And he's also won races in the Porsche Cayman GT4 Championship, the Endurance Series that we've done, the multi-class Endurance Series, oh no, he didn't win in the multi-class Endurance Series, but he did win in the Metal Moro Cup, as well as, oh no, he did win in the multi-class Endurance Series, my mistake. Formula BMWs, he's won in those, as well as the Ginetta Super Cup, the RSS GT1 Series 1, FKR GT3 Endurance Championship, and ACD Endurance Cup UK. So he has done a lot with SimRacingOnline, and has 17 fastest laps to his name too. Just completing the race, oh sorry, a race lap, and going on his way for another lap with a 6-second advantage. That is very nicely done. Here's John Van der Geest, having a bit more of a lonely race in 3rd position. He was running 4th for a lot of the race until Talviti made that mistake. And now continuing on his way. Set to pick up plenty of decent points here as well. He'll probably appreciate that mistake from Talviti. Van der Geest only finished 7th last time out at Mosport, didn't have the greatest of races. So doing better this time around. Up towards turn 4 for another time lasking. Also Steve Isaacs now is caught right up to the back of Giacomo Villini. This is for 6th position. Villini in the Lamborghini, Isaacs in the Viper. Slight lockup from Villini as they go into turn 1. These cars do not have ABS. In fact, they are allowed to use no driving aids aside from auto clutch, just so that if they spin they don't lose the engine, but that doesn't affect the actual driving of the car at all. So Steve Isaacs just waiting for an opportunity as Rob Milliken pits. I'm not sure whether he has damage, maybe? This is probably too early for a scheduled pit stop. Oh, and he's very tentative into the pits as well. Yeah, didn't quite make it to his pit box there. Not sure why he stopped where he did. So possible damage for Rob Milliken. Either that or he's just going to go for a very, very long stint on the harder tyres. Potentially. I'm sure we'll find out in due course. Not expecting anyone to go for a two-stopper. Two-stop strategies tend to be for if you have an incident of some sort. Don't think we saw any of those last time out. Well, we did from drivers just misjudging it and having to go for a splash. Although it's rare and definitely not the prescribed strategy. And he now gets in his way and returns to the circuit and returns to the race. Isaacs takes over 0.2 of a second out of Villini that last time around. Definitely closing in. The gap between them is 0.7 of a second. And it's all going to be about slipstream from Steve Isaacs if he's going to pull a clean move. But we've seen from Villini earlier that he does race well. May not be the fastest driver on the grid, and I say that with all due respect, but he does defend well. And that dive to the inside of Massad, I think it was, that we saw earlier, that was actually really good. That's the kind of dive that isn't diabolical, isn't always going to, or isn't likely to cause an accident, and I always respect it. When that happens. So down the Madison Avenue Straight, up towards the roller coaster again. The gap just 0.4 of a second, 0.3 of a second now. The Viper does appear to be very, very good into that set of corners, but ideally you need to be within 0.3 of a second if you're going to make a dive, if you're going to go through. However, he may not need to, because he gets a much better run out of the hog pen and up towards turn 1. There he goes on the inside. Brakes towards the corner. This is where Villini went for that return dive earlier on, but wasn't able to do so this time around. So Steve Isaacs gets back up into sixth position. And Villini drops back to 7th. Yusuf Massad is 6 seconds behind him and gaining. So while it doesn't look as if he's going to be in immediate danger, I think Massett's going to be on him definitely by the end of the race. Really depends on how cleanly Massett can drive up towards the pit stages and what they do with their strategy. We saw the race change relatively drastically last time as the drivers went for slightly different strategies in terms of how long they ran, which tyres they were using and when, because I believe that they have a hard and soft compound, and also how much fuel they put in the car. Into the pits comes Steve Olden. This is about the time I was expecting drivers to start making pit stops potentially. And he is now exiting the pits in 10th position. Goes on his way. Let's have a look at Steve Isaacs again, as he tries to accelerate up the road away from Giacomo Villini. He's got clean air in front of him, and now he's got to just use that to his advantage. Pull away as much as he can from Villini before the pit stop stages, and hopefully for him find himself in a decent bag of clear air. I'm not sure bag's the right word to describe that, but never mind. You get what I'm trying to say? I believe Phil Brown pitted a few laps ago as well. No, actually, he's not far back enough for that. So, 10 drivers remaining out of the 12 who started in this race. We have 58 minutes remaining, and still the majority of the field yet to make their first pit stops. And that can really change the race depending on how well they do it. And of course, we've seen things going wrong in the pits as well. We've seen drivers missing their pit box. We've seen them misjudging how much time they lose. We've seen drivers coming out in traffic, or even sometimes misjudging the pit entry and going into the pit wall. That doesn't tend to happen at VIR, although it can happen if you get a bit complacent. Think, well, it's only the pit lane, no hassle. And you've got to make sure that you keep your wits about you. Let's take a look at Steve Olden as well. The only driver to have made a pit stop currently, running down in 10th position. Of course, you will recognise Steve Olden as Steve O if you made the first round of the championship 2 weeks ago. More messages in the YouTube chat now from Tony Talviti. He says, two-stopper is doable on this track. Leaves about 25 seconds to be gained on track then. With medium tyres versus hards, no problem. Just that traffic will play its part. Not many cars on the grid, so very doable. Thank you very much for the insight there. That is very, very handy. I think Steve Olden may well be going for the two-stop strategy potentially. And also Rob Milliken may have been, but I've just seen that Rob Milliken is out of this race. And I'm not quite sure what took him out, but I'm afraid we do only have 10 cars remaining now. Apparently we have a very quick pit entry and pit exit as well. Makes sense because it's not really that long of a pit lane, and it's on a kind of curvy pit straight. It's on the inside as well. Just makes it that fraction of a second quicker. You see the pit entry there, kind of curves off slightly, and because you're going so fast when you're braking. Oh, it's Olden. Whoa, what the heck? Steve Olden right off into the grass, spinning around. Looked like he just stopped steering. What happened there? Keeps it out of the barrier. Maybe he was fiddling with his settings or something, because that was a really weird spin for Steve Olden. And that's not normally a difficult part of the track. It's completely flat there, and not difficult flat either. It's easy flat. So that's a weird mistake from Steve Olden. From one lister to another, we go to Johnny Gutierrez. Of course, Gutierrez was right in the thick of the action earlier on. Had had a bit of a spin, if I remember correctly. But having a nice recovery drive, currently running in 5th position. 14.8 seconds back from Pablo Finotti. 18.4 seconds ahead of Steve Isaacs, so he's got a lot of clean air there. The car that you see behind him is Steve Olden, who is a lap down in this race. Out onto Madison Avenue again. Gutierrez, of course, has suddenly found himself in a position where he can challenge for really high positions in this championship. He may only be 5th in the race, however, his 4th place plus 5th place, well, his 4th place last time out plus 5th place here, if he's to finish in that position, is actually a very consistent couple of races, and with the drivers around him not being so consistent, I estimate that he's probably going to come out of this race either 2nd or 3rd in the championship. Of course, Davide Ricciardi will be well and truly the championship leader. Not sure quite by how many points, but it's going to be quite a margin. And then Gutierrez may well be 2nd. I think another driver that's going to be up there is... Gutierrez has spun! And I don't think he's going to lose too much time from that, although he is going to lose some time. And I just looked down there, he's got, that's Steve Olden just going straight back past him. And he's going to have to immediately give the place up again because of the blue flags. Gutierrez is going to lose some time from that. He lost about 6 or 7 seconds. And he's going to lose more trying to get back past Steve Olden, who is a lap down. Uncharacteristic mistake there from Gutierrez, although he's made a couple so far today. Hasn't really been the best of races from him. The main reason that he is doing this well in the championship is because Talviti has retired from the race, Milliken's retired from the race, Miettinen retired last race, and Van der Geest last time only managed 7th, Finotti only managed 11th. Steve Olden still not getting out of the way of Gutierrez. Gutierrez will probably be getting quite frustrated here. Not sure that Johnny is any relation to the F1 driver Esteban Gutierrez. It's of course Gutierrez, a very, very popular name. It's like Jones in the English-speaking countries, so you really can't say that there's likely to be any relation there. And now Steve Olden gives way, so Gutierrez goes back through. Doesn't gain a place as they're on different laps in this race. Partly due to Steve Olden's massive and very weird spin a couple of laps ago. And Gutierrez completes another lap of the race. Steve Isaacs here, still accelerating away from Vellini. The gap between them is 2.3 seconds. 2.5 now, if you take it from the exit of that corner. Running well in the Viper. Oh, it's Miettinen. Oh, that's not a pit stop, that's a spin! The race leader spun, he's lost the lead, and Davide Ricciardi has taken it. So, a mistake from Henri Miettinen. We didn't see how that happened, but that gives Davide Ricciardi the lead of the race now. And that's the 2nd race in a row where I've been commentating at VIR, where the leader has lost it. Goodness me, so Miettinen there, we were talking about uncharacteristic mistakes, and he has another little slide there. His rear tyre's probably not the best as he goes into turn 1. And he's going to be kicking himself for that one, especially if it costs him the win. He had quite an advantage going for him, about 4 seconds. And now he's spun 2 seconds behind Ricciardi, and Ricciardi will feel like it's his birthday. Races on in the lead of the race. That's very strange for Miettinen. And Ricciardi now is in position for 2 wins out of 2 here with SimRacingOnline, although I am speaking too soon as we do have 50 minutes to go in this race. Oof. So, Over the crest of the hill again. Miettinen 2 seconds back from Ricciardi, and he's going to have a real job to get back into attacking range here. We know how fast Ricciardi is. These two, of course, qualified on the front row of the grid together. Wasn't really that much between them in the grand scheme of things. And to gain that gap down, it's one thing to gain it, and another thing to pass. And passing the reigning champion and championship leader Davide Ricciardi, no easy feat. Ricciardi, of course, not a driver who often races with Sim Racing Online. He's not relatively new, although he hasn't really done that much. Only tends to race in touring car championships, although he did do a couple of rounds of the Group C Honey Jar Championship. And so far his only 2 wins have come in the RSS GT1 Championship, but he did win the championship last time out. He's heading for his third win with Sim Racing Online here. Henri Miettinen, significantly more experienced with Sim Racing Online. Of course, the most experienced SRO competitor in the field is John van der Geest, who is, of course, one of the admins, one of the original members of the league. He's won 4 championships with us. Yeah. Won 4 championships, the Alfa Romeo 8C Cup, the Group C Honey Jar Series, and also somehow 2 classes of the Group C Flat 6 Multi-Class Endurance Series. Not quite sure how that worked. Huh, weird. I think that's a glitch actually. I think he's only won 3 championships with us, but still, that is no mean feat. And this is actually his 50th series with Sim Racing Online, so that is quite an achievement there. Great to see him keep coming back to it. And of course he would do, because he helps to run the thing. And the way I see it, if you're running such an enjoyable championship as this one, where anyone can join in, compete and have fun, why wouldn't you? And if you do want to get involved with the Sim Racing Online leagues, we do quite a few different leagues. We have series on Assetto Corsa, Assetto Corsa Competizioni, Race Room, Racing Experience, Automobilista, R Factor 2, R Factor 1. And I'm sure that we're going to expand to other leagues and series in the future. Pablo Finotti now makes a pit stop in the Saleen. He was running 4th. And this is the start of the proper pit window, I'd say, as Miettinen, meanwhile, has caught right up to the back of Ricciardi, so he has been reeling him in. He's now within half a second of him. Now, will one of these two make their pit stop here? Yes, they will. It's Ricciardi who comes in. Obviously feels that he's losing too much time. And that means that Miettinen is now released, and he's got to charge for his life in these next few laps to gain as much time as he possibly can. He's effectively racing a stationary car here. But of course Ricciardi will have, on one hand, the fresher tyres, but on the other hand, the colder tyres. So Miettinen's just got to make sure that he laps quicker than Ricciardi. If his next few laps are just half a second quicker than Ricciardi, he will take the lead of the race. He's got... That's traffic coming up there. I believe that's Phil Brown in the Ferrari, currently running in 8th position in this race. Hopefully he doesn't hold him up too much. Ricciardi's about to exit the pits, and Miettinen will pit in the next few laps, I expect. So this is hammer time for Miettinen to coin a phrase from somewhere else. Not naming any names. Yusuf Massad also right on the tail of Giacomo Villini, so he has caught him. I said he was going to catch him before the end of the race. I wasn't expecting him to catch him quite this quickly. I'm also keeping an eye on the order to see if anyone else dives into the pits. I'm expecting pretty much everyone to make their pit stop relatively soon. In fact, we could be seeing Villini or Massad pitting this time around, since you do lose time from battling. And Finotti's out. Finotti is retired from the race. Finotti just doesn't have any luck with this league as Massad goes to the inside of Villini. Not quite sure why Finotti's left, although exactly the same thing happened to him last time out, where he just randomly disappeared from the order. He did come back last time after disconnecting and managed to recover to 11th place, but this time out it may well be a straight DNF. That's a big shame, and that means that we now have 9 cars remaining in this race as Miettinen pits from the lead. So now, what can Miettinen do about Ricciardi? Where does he come out in relation to him? This is important. Ricciardi is just coming down Madison Avenue now towards the pit lane. It's a relatively long pit stop here. John van der Geest also in from 2nd place in the order, 3rd effectively. It'll be interesting to see where he comes out as well, although he had a lot of clean air around him. Miettinen still sitting in the pits. Here comes Ricciardi. Let's keep an eye on Miettinen. He's moving. And I think that Miettinen's going to take the lead here. Out of the pits he comes. Where's Ricciardi? Where's he coming from? Ricciardi is miles back. Davide Ricciardi loses the lead. Miettinen takes it. His in-laps, must have been flying. Either that or Ricciardi made a mistake, because that's a 3-second advantage. That's pretty much the advantage that Miettinen had before his spin. So despite the mistake, Henri Miettinen has managed to claw it straight back. He's managed to get back into the driving seat, into the cockpit, into P1 numero uno. And he is going to be feeling an immense sense of relief, but of course still needs to hold it for the next 42 minutes. Just because he takes the lead doesn't mean he's won. And we've seen things changing and going wrong towards the end of races before, not wishing that on anyone. Let's just sit back and watch how it all unfolds. But whatever the case, a fantastic couple of outlaps from Henri Miettinen. In-laps. Not the best couple of outlaps for Davide Ricciardi. And that has swung the pendulum right back towards the green Lamborghini. So Finotti, meanwhile, has made it back into the race, just like last time out at Mosport. Had a brief disconnection and then rejoined the race. It's a huge shame that it keeps happening to him, because we've seen that he's competitive. He was on course for 3rd or 4th, probably 4th in this race. So whatever keeps happening to him needs to probably do something to make sure that it doesn't happen again. Must be something to do with his settings or his internet or something like that. It's very, very frustrating when you lose significant championship points as a result of things that aren't in your control. Meanwhile, Yusuf Massad's now caught right up to the back of Isaacs. And of course neither of these have pitted either, so this is for position. Isaac's running wide into the grass, and Massad takes the place. They're 4th and 5th on the road at the minute, although I expect them to drop down the order later on. Miettinen and Ricciardi have regained the lead of the race due to Van der Geest pitting, and that shows just how far ahead of the rest of the pack they were, because Gutierrez, Massad, Isaacs, Fellini, Brown, none of those have pitted yet. And I'm not sure if Finotti still needs to pit or not. Not sure if he was able to make a pit stop as part of his disconnection there. I'm not entirely sure how that kind of thing works. But I'm not sure it'll matter much, seeing as he's a whole minute behind everyone else, I'm afraid. Davide Ricciardi sets the fastest lap of the race. He's not happy with letting Miettinen get away with it. He is on the charge, trying to bring in that 3.4 second advantage to challenge for the lead in the late stages. It may be that Miettinen started the race on softer tyres and Ricciardi was on harder tyres, and now they've swapped. If so, that's a very long stint on the soft tyres for Miettinen. Into the pits now come the two fighting vipers of Masset and Isaacs. They're going to make a lengthy pit stop. Does Isaacs just hit the wall in the pit lane? Well, the two cars are in... Nope, they're... Yeah, I think he may have done. That's weird. But anyway, John Van der Gies goes back through as we expected him to do. He will probably retake third in the race when it all sorts itself out. So, who should we take a look at next? If you have any requests for people we should take a look at, then you should post those in the comments, and I will take a look. Let's go back up to Davide Ricciardi, since he's pushing so hard and flying so fast. Ooh, locking up a tyre, maybe pushing a bit too hard. Although that probably won't cost him too much time. I believe Isaacs may be about to exit the pits ahead of Masset here, yeah. So Isaacs jumps Masset in the pits, and Masset's going to have to pass him all over again. And they're about to be lapped here by Davide Ricciardi as well. It's always even more difficult when you come upon a scrapping pair of cars than when you come upon one or two back markers on their own, so hopefully they won't hold him up much, although there is 6.6 seconds between them, so that was a very long stop for Masset. Mal W49 says suggests that we have a look at Giacomo Vellini. Where is he? There he is, 4th position. And I'm afraid we can't have a look at him going around now, because he is actually just diving into the pits. So that was a very long first stint for Giacomo Vellini. Ran it well, although even longer is Brown and Gutierrez. They're still yet to stop. So Gutierrez and Brown, 3rd and 4th, still yet to make their stop. I promise we will have another look at Vellini lapping the circuit in a bit. But whatever the case, he's just making his pit stop now, and we'll see where he rejoins. Miettinen losing a bit of time to... Ricciardi losing a bit of time to Miettinen now. That's surprising, since Miettinen had to pass a back marker earlier in this lap. Maybe Ricciardi was fast for that one lap, and now he's just biding his time a little bit. Out through the final couple of corners. Pablo Finotti incidentally just set his fastest lap of the race, so he knows that he's going to have to push if he's going to gain any more positions in this race, although I'm afraid it looks to be too much to ask of him, since he's, as I said, over a minute behind anyone else. Hugely disappointing for him, and now he's just out there to have fun, pretty much. Let's just hope that he is having fun, as disappointed as he may be. Johnny Gutierrez, meanwhile, has just dived into the pits as well. And Ricciardi, ooh, he's being held up here. Oh no! And that was so close, as Masset there came across his nose through the snake section. Ricciardi's going to be losing about half a second in all of that, maybe more. And I was wondering whether they were going to make contact there. And I don't expect the use of Masset... That is Masset, isn't it? Yes, it is. I don't expect that Masset will be on Ricciardi's Christmas card list. Meanwhile, Gutierrez and Brown are both in the pits. Although Gutierrez came in a long way ahead of Brown. Back onto the straight, and Masset's actually gaining on Ricciardi here. Oh, if he has a dive here, that would be priceless. No, decides better of it. Of course, you are entitled to do that if you're, yeah, if you're faster than the car ahead of you. Doesn't matter if you're a lap down, you are allowed to pass them. Roll Posma says, "Hey kids, I like it so far, go John!" So obviously we have a John Van der Geest fan in there. And I know that Roll Posma is a good friend of John Van der Geest. Posma also drives this race with us a lot in SimRacingOnline. Why don't you go out there and give it a go, Roll? We should see you for next round of the championship, maybe. So now let's take a look at Giacomo Villini for a lap or two, since we couldn't just now. A great guy, as MalW49 says. Didn't set his best lap of the race last time around. In fact, I think he may have made a small mistake on that lap, judging by the pace of it. But anyway, still lapping, running 8th place at the minute. Was defending well later in the race, had a really good start, although I'm afraid dropping back quite a lot now. Although still 8th place will be a valuable point to finish. And last time out he was only able to finish 10th in this race, so wherever he finishes, it will be a new personal best for Giacomo Villini. Simply because 3 people have already retired. Of course, he has only raced with us in this series. This is only his 2nd race with SimRacingOnline, so we have to say welcome in to Giacomo Villini. And I'm sure that he will improve and get faster as the season progresses, as he gets used to the car, and as he gets used to the league as well. Not sure how much sim racing experience he has behind him. Raul Posma says that the reason he's not racing is because he's tired of beating Tony Talviti. How would you be tired of beating Tony Talviti? He's one of the fastest drivers here. That's an interesting thing to say, but anyway, you do you. Anyway, thanks for your support, Raul. Giacomo Villini there, as we were watching him, just set the fastest lap of the race, or his race, sorry, his personal best, not the fastest lap overall, but definitely his personal best. So obviously knew that we were watching and wanted to put on a show for us. Meanwhile, Masset has caught right up to the back of Isaacs again. Oh, and they've caught up to the back of that's not Gutierrez, that's... Oh, they've just been passed by... Oh, and Masset's made a big slide. Good save from Masset, and I was going to say, it's actually that Ricciardi has dropped back. He's now 7 seconds behind the Etna. So not having the greatest time fit there, and he's now right in front of these 2 fighting Vipers here. Slightly strange, but anyway. Hello as well to Charlie Luciano, who's watching along. Thanks for your support as well. So Johnny Gutierrez and all of that, setting the fastest lap of the race. He's running in completely clean air, I believe. Has a 46-second gap to John Van der Geest. So, oh, as Masset does now go to the inside of Isaacs. Through he goes. Gets it turned in and nicely does it. Good move from Masset. And now Masset may have a problem, because if he's faster than Ricciardi, he may find himself in a bit of trouble here. He won't want to push past him and impede him, but also he may find himself under attack from drivers behind if he doesn't. They've also got, who's that on the top? Oh, it's Brown. So Brown's caught up to them as well. It may turn into a three-way fight for 5th place if they're not careful. Anyway, onto Madison Avenue. This is where the Viper's strong. It's got so much grunt. Tends to be good uphill. I noticed that a lot at Watkins Glen last series when they were going up through the S's. And it was very much a case of the Viper would just have that grunt. It would just suddenly start to gain. Oh, and Isaacs is off! Isaacs takes flight almost as he spins across the grass towards the trees. Manages to keep it out of the trees, reverses back towards the circuit. He's lost the place to Phil Brown in all of that. Rejoins in 7th. He's got about 30 seconds back to Validi, so doesn't have to worry too much about him. Phil Brown sets his fastest lap of the race. So not too discouraged by the spinning Isaacs ahead of him. And Isaacs continues on his way. Who should we have a look at now? Well, Royal Posma is a John Van der Geest fan, so let's have a look at Van der Geest. Going around in 3rd position. Still lapping consistently. I don't think I've seen him make a single mistake so far today. Look at the brake disc glowing as he breaks through the roller coaster there. Out onto another lap of the race. Just listen to this amazing Ferrari V12. Enzo Ferrari once said that if your car looks too fancy in terms of aerodynamics, suspension, that type of thing, means you can't build engines properly. A huge muscle car fan, effectively. And Ferrari always kept that philosophy, kept putting gigantic engines in, especially their earlier cars. And just look at the amount of bonnet space you have on that Ferrari there. The space from the front of the windscreen to the front of the splitter, just huge. Phil Brown now has caught up to Yusuf Massett. They said he was pushing, and it looks like his pushing is pulling him closer. He's got another one of those wonderful Ferrari V12s under his bonnet. So 27 minutes pretty much remaining in this 1.5 hour race now. We are over 2/3 in, and I suppose going towards the closing stages, although we've still got quite a way to go. It's certainly not over yet by any means. Valini now setting his first lap of the race again, still pushing, and I said that Steve Alden was going for a 2-stopper. He's just pulled into the pits again, and I'm afraid for him that's going to put him a long way behind the rest of the pack. Pablo Finotti, I'm afraid, has now retired from the race. Obviously just thought that he was too far back and it wasn't worth it. Although I'd have still continued just for the joy of it, just for practice, just for experience, just to get out there and race, pretty much. So now through the roller coaster they go. Brown still close to the back of Massett, although drops back every time he goes onto the straight, and that's never a good sign because the straight is the place where you really need to be fast if you're going to pull a move on someone. And that's given Massett a bit of breathing space for now, and in fact Massett sees that Brown is in his mirrors and he is responding to that, just set his personal best lap of the race. So a lot of drivers really pushing at this point in the race, and you often see that because this is when the tyres are relatively fresh, when the drivers are coming out of the pits and finding out where they are in relation to other drivers around them. And if you find that you're close to someone, or you think you can challenge the car ahead, or you think that the car behind is going to challenge you, you're going to push for it, obviously. Roll Postma says, my god, that Viper has huge flames all the time. Indeed it does, and just as I said that, you saw the Viper flaming its way through the shot, as does the Ferrari. More flames from the Viper there, look at that, flames on both sides! I wouldn't want to stand too close to that. Look, oh my word, it really is flaming all the time. It's almost on fire as it goes down the straight there. It's nothing to be worried about, it's supposed to do that. It's still on fire, look at that! Nitromobile, goodness me. I hadn't noticed that until now. I got so used to the Viper spitting flames. But yeah, let's have a look closer at Assetto. He is genuinely on fire. It's not a problem. It's just that, well, something's got very, very hot under that car, hasn't it? You could stick a steak or something on the floor of that car, and it would get cooked well done throughout the course of the race. And it's absolutely boiling in that cockpit there. Look at that! I have never seen a car on fire for that long before. Let's see if all of the Vipers are doing it. We do have another Viper in the race, Isaac's. No, Isaac's not on fire. So it's only... Is it something that he's done in the setup, maybe? Or is it that my game's glitched? Something like that, but anyway. Very, very weird. I've just passed Steve Olden there. In fact, he's right on the back of Johnny Gutierrez. Oh no, there's Olden, getting out of the way. Maybe not getting out of the way quite as soon as he would have liked. Although, does get through now. Hello as well to Dino Google, who says, I'm Giacomo Vallini's teammate, gutted that I couldn't race tonight. Yeah, big shame that you couldn't. We hope to see you out on track next time. Just a quick reminder actually, if you haven't unregistered from this race, you should unregister from the race now, because otherwise the no-shows get disqualified from the championship. So if you'd, I'm not sure if you've done it or not, but if you haven't unregistered yet, you should do that now, and everything will be okay. You will be allowed to turn up and race for the next time, which is at Oschersleben in just 2 weeks' time. Just a warning there, but anyway. So Yusuf Masset still spitting flames right behind Yusuf, sorry, just behind Johnny Gutierrez. Oh good, Dino has unregistered. Jolly good. Yeah, just thought I'd let you know. So up the hill again, and towards the Viper's favourite spot on the track, the long Madison Avenue Straight, which sends you up and over the top of the roller coaster. Separated by less than 0.6 of a second, and that's going to be coming down all the while that they're on the accelerator here. And possibly into the braking zone as well. We've seen that Masset's really good into this braking zone. Tends to leave it much later than the other drivers. Look at that. Yeah, that's nicely done. He's gained a lot of time through there. And he's now just 0.3 of a second behind Gutierrez. They've got another straight coming up here. Not quite as long. And not quite as straight either, but still, you can sometimes have an opportunity towards turn 1. And Gutierrez, I think, went slightly overly defensive there. It's not going to give him the best run out of the corner. Probably didn't need to defend there. Meanwhile, the gap for the lead's come way down. They were separated by 7 seconds. Now they're separated by 2.1. And I didn't see where that happened. Maybe there was a mistake from Yettinen. I'm pretty sure there was a mistake from Yettinen, because surely it wouldn't come down that fast. And you see the two of them ahead of this battle, actually. They are a lap ahead, but you see them just up there in the road. The little green speck and the yellow speck escaping away in the distance. As Masset and Gutierrez, they're much closer than they were last time. And I'd be very surprised if Masset did not attempt to move on Johnny Gutierrez this time around. Oh, he's gone wide. I think he wasted his opportunity there, to be honest. He definitely could have challenged had that not happened. But the still flaming Viper is going to have to sit in his slipstream and go for it on another opportunity. Oh, very sideways. Oh, very sideways. He's going to lose a lot of time there. That was a big mistake from Masset. Seems to be getting a little bit loose now. Ran wide going into Oak Tree, or coming out of Oak Tree rather, and ran wide in the roller coaster as well. He's now got Brown on his tail end, and he's dropped 2 seconds behind Gutierrez. Hopefully the fire's not melting his rear tyres or anything like that. Meanwhile, Gutierrez has used that pressure to set his personal best lap, and Masset runs wide again. Singes the door handle of Brown's car, but stays ahead for the time being. Out and up towards the Nissan bridge. And while Masset looked a lap ago like he was sure to pass Gutierrez, Brown now looks as if he's going to have a swipe at Masset maybe. Up the hill, setting fire to all of the taller blades of grass as they go. Into the braking zone at Oak Tree. This is where Masset ran wide a lap ago, and he runs wide, slightly wide again. Not quite as bad as last time, but he certainly missed the apex. Using nitrous, says Dino. Yeah, it does look like Masset's using nitrous there. I expect that's probably a glitch, the fire by the side of his car. I don't think that. Well, it's very weird that he's on fire and Isaac's isn't. You'd expect them both to be if it was a Viper thing. Whatever the case, doesn't appear to be affecting him. And the lead battle has come down to 1.5 seconds. Oh my word, and his last lap was 0.7 of a second faster. I'll definitely switch to that if it looks like there's going to be a move. But you see them just ahead. Well, they were in your shot very briefly there. But it appears to me that the lead battle may well be on here. Coming towards the final few minutes of the race. Roll Passman says, do the flames heat his rear tyres? I don't think they do. Because I'm pretty sure that he's not actually on fire and it's just a glitch that we're seeing on the screen now. I do apologise if that's the case. It's not my fault, but whatever the case. So I don't think... And I think we've had another mistake from Yettinen, because now Ricciardi is right in his tail end. He's almost on his gearbox now. The fight for the lead is well and truly on. Suddenly Yettinen lost a second there. He must have made a mistake. And Ricciardi suddenly is flying closer and closer to the back of Yettinen, and he's in the slipstream towards the roller coaster. Incidentally, these drivers have a minute's advantage to Van Dijk. He's behind! Oh my goodness! And Ricciardi there locks up, having to avoid the back of Miettinen's car. Obviously, he wasn't expecting him to brake as hard as he did. I wonder whether Ricciardi is on softer tyres here, whether Miettinen started on softer tyres. Oh, Ricciardi on the grass there. getting well and truly out of shape, trying to pass Miettinen. Ricciardi, the Italian driver with the Italian flag plastered all over his Lamborghini, challenging Miettinen, the Finnish driver with the Finnish flag on the back of his Lamborghini. Out towards NASCAR bend again. Ricciardi. That's very, very close. This is real tense racing here. And let's watch them as they go up towards the straight. Of course, the hardest part of overtaking, or the hardest car to overtake, is it's your own car, basically. Sorry, I don't know why I was struggling to finish that sentence, but because these two are Lamborghinis, it means that it's more difficult to play to each other's strengths and weaknesses, since you know that you both have the same strengths and weaknesses. So really now it's just about being that fraction of a second quicker by Ricciardi. It's just about being that bit cleaner, getting the psychological advantage, showing Miettinen that he's there and that he's feisty. Possibly challenging Miettinen, showing himself to his mirrors, trying to force him into a mistake. That's how you make moves. Also behind there you see Gutierrez and Massa almost going side by side. Sorry that I can't show you both of those fights at the same time. I have to stick with the leaders because they are right on top of each other. Well, figuratively, not literally. Is it going to be Oi Mama that plays on the podium after this, or is it going to be El Canto degli Italiani? My apologies if I pronounced either of those national anthems wrong. Through the S's again, still Gutierrez holding off Massad and Brown as well in the three-way fight for 4th position further back. But still the leaders are close. And I think that if we're going to see a maneuver here, it's going to be either a mistake by Miettinen, or it's going to be through the slipstream. And in fact, Ricciardi is now less than 3.5 tenths of a second behind Miettinen. This could be his chance. He's got now almost within 3 tenths of a second as they go up the hill. Now he's too far back, he'd have to go for a dive. But that definitely looked like an opportunity. Oh, and he's lost it! Has he? He's held it! But he's lost a lot of time there. It seems to me that Miettinen's faster in a straight line because he was pulling away at the end of the straight. And it may just be that Ricciardi is gaining in the corners, and that's a really frustrating situation to be in, because you can't pass in the corners unless your opponent makes a mistake, and unless you get alongside into the braking zone. And despite that huge mistake, Ricciardi's last lap was still faster than Miettinen's. He's taking a look to the outside. He's on the grass. He's locked up. Ricciardi's going to lose time in that as well. But I mark my words, he's going to be right on his tail end again by the end of this lap. Maybe even by the straight here. Just needs to stop making mistakes, because Ricciardi here, he's obviously faster than Miettinen at this stage, but he's getting desperate. He's making mistakes, trying to pass Miettinen, and he may be using up his tyres, he may be using up his patience. He may be about to make an even bigger mistake. He needs to stop doing that. But as I said, he's right back within half a second now, almost, of Henri Miettinen, heading up through the S's once again. Towards the oak tree. Well, the non-existent oak tree, the oak tree that used to be there. And sideways goes Ricciardi again! Come on, he needs to stop doing that. That is the only reason that he's still behind Miettinen at this point in time, because he keeps making mistakes. Still in the slipstream of Miettinen. Miettinen's going to pull away slightly at the end of the straight. Looks like he's just got maybe a longer gear ratio. Maybe longer gear ratios than Davide Ricciardi. And probably a I'm not sure what I was going to say there, but yeah, definitely longer gear ratios. Through towards turn 1 again. We've got less than 10 minutes to go. Sorry, just taking a swig of water there. And also making sure that all of the settings are still okay. Also, I would love to keep an eye on 2 battles at once, because we've still got that 3-way fight for 4th, 5th and 6th going on further back as well. I just don't want to miss the change for the lead if it occurs. I was watching a race at VAR recently where a fight went down to the final lap of the race, and then a driver it's Ricciardi locks up again into the oak tree. And then in that race that I'm talking about, a driver challenged into the roller coaster, left his braking slightly too late, slithered off into the grass, and cost himself his last opportunity. And it was an excellent drive from the other driver, who defended well and just kept steady. And it looks to me as if we're seeing a replay of that here as well, because Miettinen is holding so steady. And while Ricciardi is the fastest driver at this point in the race, you have to say Miettinen's driving better, he's driving cleaner, he's defending him, holding him off. And that is where the psychological upper hand comes into play, because Ricciardi, we've seen that he's getting desperate, we've seen that he's sliding about all over the place. And, well, probably needs to be getting slightly urgent, since we're in the final 8 minutes of the race now, but not frantic. There is a difference. They're just about to lap Giacomo Vellini, so if he can possibly take advantage of that, maybe box Miettinen in, that could be a good advantage to get through. We'll see how they deal with it. Of course, this also depends on how easy Vellini makes it for them. Of course, SimRacingOnline actually has SimRacingOnline actually has no mandatory blue flag rules. So basically, you do not have to get out of the way for drivers, even when you see a blue flag. It's the responsibility of the faster driver to get through cleanly and safely. That is, so long as the back marker is remaining predictable. They have to make it predictable, and it looks to me as if Vellini is going to do so. And the Lamborghini slipstream through. Well, I mean, all 3 of them are Lamborghinis there, but whatever the case, they make it stick. And still Ricciardi stuck by Miettinen for another lap, and that is the disappointment, the frustration that you encounter when you have a car that's not quite as quick as your opponent in a straight line. Oh, as Ricciardi makes another mistake! Well, whoever wins this race would have thoroughly deserved it, but if Ricciardi loses this, he's only going to have himself to blame, I'm afraid. In terms of pace, he'll know he should be long gone. But Miettinen's holding fast, and up until this point has driven the better race, but he's running wide, and Ricciardi's made another mistake, and he's taken them both off! My goodness! And does he wait for Miettinen? Yes, he does! Yes, he does! Okay, so Ricciardi then knows that he makes a mistake. He waits for Miettinen to go through, and hopefully there's no damage to either car there. And that there was once again another demonstration that Ricciardi is getting desperate. He dived to the inside, there was no gap there. He was far too far back. He spun them both around. Luckily it hasn't cost many positions, because they've got 1 minute and 18 seconds to John Van der Goes behind. And that could have ended far, far worse between the two of them. But I have to give credit to Ricciardi that, yeah, I have to give credit to Ricciardi that he did wait for Miettinen. That is sportsmanlike. But he may have just cost himself another opportunity of taking the lead because he's now 1.4 seconds behind. Less than 5 minutes to go in this race. He could still have another chance. So long as he can get back on the tail of Miettinen. So long as he hasn't damaged himself, his car, his tyres maybe. Because I believe he is on softer tyres at this point in the race. And I do apologise to Davide Ricciardi if I come across as judgmental maybe, or as overly critical of his driving. He is definitely a very, very good driver, much better than me, I'd say. Well, there's no way of telling since we've never raced each other, but still, he's won a championship and I haven't. And he is the current championship leader and still will be if they finish in this order. However, I've got to say it, he's driving clumsily here. So 2.6 seconds is the gap to Miettinen, and he appears to be dropping back. Maybe he's damaged his tyres. Still his suspension appears to be pointing in the right direction. He's not pulling. And he's 3 seconds back now, so Miettinen's pulling away. And that may be it for the lead of this race. That may be it for the lead battle. Goodness gracious me. So down Madison Avenue again. And Brown now is chasing down Massett. I can finally focus on this 4th, 5th, 6th place fight. Johnny Gutierrez, I've noticed, is dropped down to 6th and 20 seconds back as well. He was in 4th just now. And if anyone knows how that happened, it would be news to me. So Gutierrez has dropped out of the picture here, but still Massett and Brown are going at it. 0.6 of a second separates them, as we have just 2.5 minutes to go until the clock ticks to 0. So probably 2 laps to go in this race. And this could go either way between Massett and Brown. This has been the section of the field where the order has jumped to and fro all the way through the race. Massett and Brown have been in pretty much every position going, aside from P1, I'm afraid. Brown, of course, was the latest to stop, meaning he's probably on fresher tyres at this point in the race. And therefore will probably be theoretically faster than Massett at this point in time. Although it's very, very difficult to pass a Viper. We know how fast a Viper is in a straight line. And it also appears to be pretty good on the brakes into the roller coaster as well. Now, who was that going off? Was that Ricciardi? It was! Ricciardi's been off again! He's being passed by Vellini, who's a lap down, and also Massett is going to get held up here. Oh, and Massett's on the grass! Massett passing Vellini on the grass, passing Ricciardi on the grass to the left-hand side. Makes it stick. He's entitled to do so despite being a lap down. And Ricciardi's now got a 7-second gap back from Miettinen. And that was really, really brave from Yusuf Massett there to make that stick. But he now, well, I tell you what, with all of that, he's now put a car between him and Brown. That's great driving from Massett. Knew that he had to go for it there. Did so, made it stick. That's clever. And Brown just wasn't able to follow him through. And now Brown may be about to pass Vellini as well. Wouldn't that rub salt in the wound? This race just continues to throw up excitement, special moments, and I'm sure that that's going to continue right to the end. There's probably more excitement that we're yet to see as well. Look at this bunch of cars heading under the bridge. We are on the final lap of the race, so let's look back up to Henri Miettinen, who at the end of all of this is going to win the race by 8 seconds. Who would have thought that a couple of minutes ago? My goodness, tickle me gently with a broken rear wing. 8.5 seconds is the gap. And Henri Miettinen will absolutely deserve this. This has been one of the most solid drives I have ever seen in SimRacingOnline. Just stayed steady, made pretty much no mistakes. Did have a spin earlier on, don't forget. Although it's recovered so well despite all of that. And just didn't seem phased at all by Ricciardi on his rear end. It was almost like he wasn't there at all. Henri Miettinen out of the final corner, and a truly well-deserved victory. Fantastic. Makes up for last round. Across the line, absolutely brilliant. Driver of the day, absolutely. Davide Ricciardi will finish second place and will also maintain the championship lead, so as much as I criticised him today, he has still done a really good job, and he's one of the fastest drivers we have here. And third place and the final driver on the lead lap is going to be John van der Geest. So let's watch van der Geest as he comes around the back part of the track in the red Ferrari. So, very good drive from van der Geest as well. Remember, he finished 7th last time out. And this is going to be his personal best drive of the season. Who's that just ahead of him on the road? It's a driver who's a lap down. I believe it's possibly Steve Isaacs, who will be coming home to a 7th place finish. Yes, it is Isaacs. In the non-fiery Toasty Viper. Towards the final corner comes John van der Geest to claim his first podium of the series. Then again, we are only in round 2, and next time he will be hoping to repeat the same feat at Oschersleben in Germany. It's it's another track which is very flowy, has a lot of elevation changes, although of course maybe not quite as much flow as Virginia International Raceway has. I think all of the drivers who race here will agree on that. But Miettinen wins, followed by, let's see the full order, Ricciardi, van der Geest, Massa, then Brown, Gutierrez, Isaacs, Fellini, and Olden making up the top 9 drivers, the 9 drivers who finished this race. Pablo Finotti, Rob Milliken and Tony Talviti, I'm afraid, were our retirements. And that is it from Virginia International Raceway here today. Thank you all for tuning in very much. I have been your commentator, Caitlin Penny. Hopefully next time we will have my co-commentator, Max Shepard, back. Although I'm afraid he was having computer issues today, so could not make it in. Although we wish him well and we hope he can get those sorted as soon as he possibly can. But anyway, what a round of racing we've seen. Congrats to our podium finishers, Henri Miettinen, Davide Ricciardi, and John van der Geest. And we will see you in 2 weeks' time from Oschersleben. Good night!